There's an expression in Canada, $1 million talent and a 5-cent brain. Now, we were talking about Daryl Porter in a recent podcast. We could talk about all how cocaine and drugs affected the late 70s and early 80s in Major League Baseball. Dave Parker, Keith Hernandez, the Padres, Timmy Raines. But this guy could have been literally the best reliever of all time, but due to drugs and personal demons, he left baseball several times and died way too young at a relatively young age in the mid 2000s. So today we're talking about probably one of the best Dodger prospects of the early 1980s besides Fernando, Steve Howe. Now, Steve Howe, born March 10th, 58. Now, this podcast is a request for 2 or 3 followers of the channel. I didn't want to specifically thank one person. I'd like to thank the several people that requested this because they felt for Steve like I did, that if somebody would have watched over him, again, he would have been a tremendous player. Now, pitched mostly in relief, 12 seasons in Major League Baseball, including the Dodgers, where he won the World Series against the Yankees in 81, his future team, Minnesota Twins, the Texas Rangers, and then the Pinstripes, spanning years 1980 to 1996. His baseball career ended in 97 after a stint with the Sioux Falls Canaries of the independent Northern League. A hard-throwing left-hander, he was Rookie of the Year in 1980 and saved the clinching game of the 81 World Series and was an All-Star in 82. However, his career was derailed by problems with alcohol and cocaine abuse. He was suspended, get this, 7 times by Major League Baseball for drug policy violations, and in 92 he received a lifetime ban from baseball that he was able to overturn with an appeal. After each disciplinary action, he returned to show flashes of his former brilliance. A good selection of pitchers, and he could touch the plate. You look like Jordan Romano meets kind of a young Jeff Reardon. He died in a single vehicle accident in 2006, after which an autopsy identified the presence of methamphetamine in his system. Now, born in the great community of Pontiac, Michigan, batted left and threw left, win-loss record in the major leagues 47-11 with a 3.03 average, 328 strikeouts and 91 saves. He could have tripled or quadrupled those positive numbers by staying off the snow, as we say. Now, born in Pontiac, he played college baseball at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and was a 2-time All-10 Big Ten selection. That's when that league was very, very strong. He made his major league debut at the age of 22 in 1980 and was the NL Rookie of the Year that year, the second in a string of 4 Dodger Rookies of the Year, including Rick Sutcliffe, Fernando, and Steve Sachs. He saved 17 games during his Rookie of the Year season, establishing a new rookie record. In the following strike-shortened season, Howe, who came on relief in all the key games, helped the Dodgers win the World Series over the Yankees after beating Montreal in the NLCS on Monday in a 5-game series. However, his career was plagued by alcohol and cocaine abuse. There was rumors as early as 1980 that he was heavy on the sauce and the snow, and eventually checked himself in a substance abuse clinic in 83, but a relapse resulted in his suspension for the entire 1984 campaign. Over the course of his 17-year career, he was suspended 7 times. Now, after briefly pitching for the Twins and Rangers and being out of the majors for 4 years, Howe supposedly cleaned up, signed with the Yankees, where he once again pitched effectively. However, in 1992, Howe became the second player to be banned from baseball for life because of substance abuse. The first was Rollie Ferguson Jenkins, who was also reinstated. He successfully appealed the ban and re-signed with the Yankees, where he had one final great season in 94, recording 15 saves with a 1.0 earned run average as a Yankees closer. However, he failed to repeat the performance the following year and was relegated to a setup role, but was released in June 96 after posting a 0-1 record with a 6.35 ERA. Howe finished his career in 97 again, playing with the Sioux Falls Canaries of the Northern League. Now, Howe eventually published an autobiography in 89 in the middle of his baseball career. The book, Between the Lines, One Athlete's Struggle to Escape the Nightmare of Addiction, described his chemical dependency and his hope for recovery based on his newfound commitment to evangelical Christianity. The book was co-written with Jim Greenfield, a lawyer from the Philadelphia area. Now, the book, we're hoping the books and is motivated would give him enough effort to make his career last longer. But unfortunately, following his retirement for baseball, he turned away from the sport he loved, but went to business for himself as a self-employed framing contractor in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. His company name at the time was All Star Framing. Now, he was back in the news in April of 2006 when word got around that he had passed away, when his pickup truck rolled over in Coachella, California, and he lost his life. He was not wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash, but unfortunately, the toxicology reports following his autopsy indicated he had methamphetamine in his system. Now, I watched Steve Howe in all his key years with the Dodgers, and Tommy Lasorda, the announcers, Vin Scully, Dave Van Horn for the Expos, always said this guy, if he basically can keep to baseball, will be a Hall of Famer. He's probably one of the worst flameouts. And when I say flameouts, he had talent. But I mean, you just see, he was his own worst enemy. He flamed out. Maybe playing in LA and the Eagles atmosphere, life in the fast lane. But from that time, from 1980 to 83, when he was on his game, there was no better reliever. And the thing is, back then, ladies and gentlemen, like an Eckersley or a Jeff Reardon or the guys, our duality for the Blue Jays, you know what I'm talking about. You would get 30 to 35 saves, play 68 games. He was a prototypical new type of reliever. He wasn't going to be overused, but he wasn't going to be underused either. He wasn't going to do like Marshall and pitch like 100-some games, but he wasn't going to pitch 50. So he was sort of the inning and a half type of reliever. But boys, he had good movement and an energetic guy. He was only like 20, imagine 22, 23 years old, winning your first World Series title. Just completely amazing. Now, just as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, again, those years with the Yankees, those seasons, again, I think he basically was just getting too old. But to go from the fishbowl of LA to nondescript play with Minnesota and Texas, and back in the big fishbowl in New York, like I said, did playing around the pushers and the hangers-on really affect his career? Would he played in Montreal or Toronto? Would he have had a longer career? Well, we don't know. But like I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, the Dodgers of that era were rebuilding all the time. You look from 1981, and he rebuilt with all those young players, which led to the 88 World Series. Because as we know, 81, he got rid of everybody in the infield, pretty much. Sale and Garvey. Only Russell was left. Lopes was gone. And like he was a rebuilding blocks. But ladies and gentlemen, Dodgers went kind of from a hitting team in the late 70s, early 80s to a pitching team, and they're hoping Steve Howe and Valenzuela would lead the way, and Valenzuela led the way. But Howe, baseball fans, we really enjoyed his play, and he let us all down. And the biggest part of it is he let himself down. And it's too bad because people don't talk about Steve Howe. I mean, cautionary tales, eh? But you know what's funny, though? The steroid era was bad enough, but the cocaine era before that has stopped certain players, including Dave Parker, not getting into Hall of Fame because of their peccadillos with drugs. Again, the Eagles song, Life in the Fast Lane. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, thanks to the followers of the channel. There's been multiple requests for Steve Howe. And if you want me to do more podcasts on what I call the cocaine years of baseball, to be quite honest with you, most of the major superstars at the time were connected with cocaine a certain way. We're looking at Willie Wilson, Keith Hernandez, Vida Blue, a lot of the stars. It was quite a weird time, that's all I can say. Because you'd think in the 70s would be the cocaine years, but it ended up being the 1980s. I think also some other players we can't prove, but if I can find a second source, we'll talk about those as we go along. So if you like what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share. But as we like to say in the old exhibition stadium, 7-inning stretch is there for a reason. It's springtime, so get out after you listen to my podcast, take a big stretch, enjoy the springtime, and come back to listen to my next podcast. Again, thanks for listening. Bye.